Hey everyone, Chad here. I'm excited to share that Can't Stop the Growth has joined the People Forward Network to help advance leaders across the globe. I've reflected on our 130 plus episodes and want to highlight this favorite. I'd love to hear what you take away from this one. Just so happened that last Friday, a good friend of mine sent me a book in the mail, and I was like, well, if that's not fate, I don't know what is. The book is by Kevin Eastman. It's Why the Best Are the Best. Kevin Eastman is a former college and professional basketball coach. He coached probably most notably on the Celtics with Doc Rivers when they won the, I think it was 2016 NBA. No, it wasn't that late. I'm not sure what year it was, but when they won the championship. So they beat LeBron, which is unfortunate. But however, the book, he goes into 25 words that he's distilled out of watching some of the best NBA basketball players out there. It really breaks it down into these 25 words and how they contribute. And the thing that I took from it is all of these are related to leading ourselves. All of these are related to the responsibility we each take every day that we wake up as to who we are going to be that particular day. And he talks about 25. Obviously, I told you I have 7 pages of notes. I took 7 out of here that I really like and that I think are really applicable to what we do here as we lead both others and, most importantly, ourselves. So I'll run through these 7 here, touch on some more than others, but the first of those that Kevin talks about is intentional. So he starts off with a quote, the chapter, Brad Stevens, who used to coach at Butler, now coaches for the Celtics. And this quote is, "It's not about what you want. It's about what you do every day." And to me, that is the key to achieving success, hitting a goal, whatever that looks like, if that's a monthly thing, if that's a yearly thing, or, hey, this is where I want to be in 3 years. We can sit there and we can wait, or we can start to actively do something today in the next hour that is going to bring us closer to whatever that is that we want. He talks about there's 2 questions that you have to answer. One is, do you truly want to grow, develop, and improve? How do you answer that? When you look in the mirror in the morning as you get up, do you truly want to do that, or are you trying to get through the day? Some days the answer may be yes. Some days it may be no. And then the question that you have to ask yourself is, what are you intentionally doing every day to make sure that you do grow, learn, and develop? You know, for me, this is a key in what we try to teach technicians, people in the office, wherever you may be in the organization, is what can you be intentional about? You know, I am very process, give me a bulleted list of things to do, and when we talk to a technician, it's what can you intentionally do? What do you have control over in this call to make it a great experience for that customer? There's a huge difference, and I see this often, of we have a meeting. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And everyone has that good intention. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let's do that. Oh yeah, I think you're totally right. Awesome idea. Great intention, but are we intentional about it? That's where that action piece comes in. And oftentimes I would assume that we can probably find ourselves where we have good intentions. We start off a week, and you know what? This is going to be a rock star week, and we're just going to really do some great things. We've got great intentions, but we're not clear on what we need to be intentional about. Once you identify something that is going to lead to your success, so once you identify what you need to be intentional about, the key, as Kevin says, is turning that from a to-do list. We've all got lists, right? Probably everyone's probably already got one for the weekend, what you need to do. But when it comes to learning and growing and developing, we need to look at that from a must-do perspective rather than a to-do perspective. You know, if you're a technician and you go into a call, you've got a to-do list. I need to do this, I need to do that. I need to make sure this is right, I need to check this pressure, I need to make sure that this has got flow here. But what must you do to make that successful? What are those must-dos to make that a great experience for the customer? What are those must-dos as a manager that you must do every week to make sure that your team's successful? Get super clear, get super intentional about what your must-dos are. Preparation is number 2. You know, when we talk about a must-do list, that often takes preparation. It's hard to do a must-do list if you run out of the house, shoes untied, not sure what you're going to do, and you just arrive. Maybe you can still check some things off your to-do list, but are you really going to be able to concentrate on that must-do list? You know, when I think of when I talk about, I love sports, talk about professional athletes, my guys that I just love watching are, one, my favorite athlete of all time may be Tiger Woods. And when you sit down and I try to understand why that is, I think it's because of all of the stories about him where he was just practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and just never stopped. Like he just outworked every single person out there on the golf course. It wasn't what he did on Sunday in his red shirt. It was what all those hours he put in Monday through Wednesday that separated him from the pack. That's preparation. A guy I know, he played football at Purdue and played with Drew Brees, and he said that one time he was down, I think he was down in New Orleans or somewhere where the Saints were practicing, and he said practice was over, and the only one left out on the field was Drew Brees, and he just kept practicing. Like he was practicing by himself, like running things, like there were plays being ran, and there was no one else out there. He was literally running through every play that he may run the next day in the game by himself and just visualizing what was going to happen. What is it going to take? What kind of preparation are you going to need in order to grow, in order to learn, in order to get better? You know, recently we had a meeting about 28 times is what it takes to change a behavior. 28 times. 28 times you need to prepare to change a behavior. So how do we practice this change? Well, we do it. We prepare. We prepare for the success that is in the future. You know, I've said many a times, be there before you get there. Be the person that you want to be today rather than waiting for it to happen. Guess what? It's never going to happen. You're going to make it happen. It's the only way. There's no luck in this. You make it happen. You know, when we think about it, we've all got, we do things on kind of a monthly basis here. And we talk about, well, this is our goal for the month. Well, that's wonderful. So if you are the manager, if you're the technician, and you've got your monthly goal, visualize, prepare. What does the technician, what does the manager look like who's going to hit that goal? What are that manager's must-dos? Even if you look at it from a weekly perspective, I want to get better at this and this. What would that person look like? And how can I prepare to be that person? The deeper our preparation is, the more our potential grows. You know, I've talked about a book before written by David Goggins, who's a former Navy SEAL, wrote the book Can't Hurt Me. And he talks about a concept of when everything is said and done and we exit this earth, his goal is to, regardless of what your belief system is for kind of that checklist of how'd you do in life? Right? What'd you accomplish? What's your legacy? His goal is to, whatever our maker or whatever that looks like, whatever they had written for him, he wants to exceed that. He wants that person to sit there and say, damn, I didn't see that coming. And the thing is we all have the power to do that. We all have the power to exceed our potential. Because essentially our potential is whatever we can envision. That's the great thing about this life. We can do whatever it is that we want to do, so long as we focus on the things that we need to focus on. And with focus leads right into the third one, accountability. This has been a big one for us here lately. You know, we just put the review numbers up on the board. I'm sure everybody loves me for that. But there again, it's not meant to call anybody out. It's just to draw attention to something that we all need to be accountable for. How do we show up with the main objective of providing 5-star service to every customer? The review is not about seeing how many we can get on Google. It's not about, well, if we get reviews, we can drive business in the slow times. And I do an impression, but I've said that before. And thinking back on it, that's pretty stupid. The goal of a review is to validate the fact that I gave this customer 5-star service and that we both agree at the end that you did wow me. That was damn impressive. That's the best service I've ever had. What if that was our goal? What would service start to look like? What would the over 100 calls we run a day start to look like? Accountability is key. And for me, accountability is one of those things where the toughest person to hold accountable is oftentimes ourselves. Think about it. When's the last time you started out something new and 3 days in, guess I'm not doing that anymore? Or, oh yeah, I think this is a great idea. You get everything prepared, you roll it out, everybody's really happy, and then all of a sudden it falls off. We've all been guilty of that. It's just human nature. Stuff gets in the way, life gets busy, other things take priority, and that's okay. But how can we use accountability to empower ourselves? And when I say empower, I mean because when we hold ourselves accountable and we take ownership of our results, complete ownership, we look to blame no one else but ourselves. What kind of power does that give us? There is no outside influence. Things can happen all the time. But are they happening for you or against you? If your view is that they're happening against you and the world's caving in and things aren't going well, guess what the outcome of that's going to be? It's when we understand that accountability unlocks power. Accountability unlocks our potential. When we get to a point where we take complete ownership, we have all the power. We have all the power. Nothing can stop you. Nothing. And with accountability comes discipline. Accountability is one thing, but to be disciplined about it is another thing. Because accountability on its own is just a, long word that's sometimes tough to spell. Kevin refers to a quote in here by none other than Bob Knight. Love it. If anytime I can squeeze in a Bob Knight quote, things are going pretty well. Bob Knight referred to discipline, doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, as well as it can be done, and doing it that way all the time. We all have days where we take the easy way out, where our accountability drops a little bit and we don't stay disciplined. You know, we look at service calls in our business and I'm trying to understand, well, why'd this one go so well and why'd this one not go so well? And at the end of the day, it comes down to discipline. And that's not just discipline for the technician, it's also discipline for the manager. It's discipline for everybody. Because the technician may not have stayed disciplined, but is the manager meeting with them regularly to go over where they're struggling? Are you doing the things that are going to lead to their success? Because ultimately, that's what you're in charge of. Discipline, for me, is the old adage of, what are you doing when no one's looking? Are you going to stay disciplined? Easy to stay disciplined when everybody's watching. Easy. Everybody's watching. I'm put on my A game here. See what I got going. Manager's out riding with me. Ooh, let's see if I can brush up on my steps here. Get this going. You know. Ooh, lights are on. But it's that next call. It's that next opportunity when it's gone away and it's all on you. Are you going to hold yourself accountable? Are you going to stay disciplined? Are you going to do the things? We all can probably point to the things that will make us successful. I need to do this and not so much of this. Right? I mean, if I had to ask you, what are the 5 things that you do that don't lead to your success? That you need to stop doing? We could probably all point out 5. I could rattle off probably 10 right now that I'm doing currently that are not contributing in any way, shape, or form to my success. But part of life is battling through that. Okay, how do we get disciplined? What will help me? What are some triggers that cause me to be undisciplined? What are triggers that cause me to be disciplined? How can I simulate that? What would it look like? And think back to a day when you just kind of mailed it in. You know, just kind of got through the day. You know, it's Friday, just not feeling it. I think I'm just going to mosey on over to my desk, sit there, act like things are good. You know, I'm really getting into this new workout thing, but God, I'm tired. I don't really want to get up, do I? Legs are kind of sore. Maybe I need a day of rest. I think a day of rest would do me good. Day of rest. What would it look like if on those days that you didn't feel like it, you did it anyway? Just on those days. So there's plenty of days when you feel like doing it, gusto, you're pumped up, you're ready to go, charged up, things are going good, things are falling in place. It's easy to be disciplined on those days. Everything's rolling. It's good. But we all wake up on the wrong side of the bed. It's like, this is going to be rough. Or the alarm doesn't go off. Or you're out of eggs. Or whatever. What if on those days you made the conscious decision to do what you needed to do? Just on those ones, how much better could you get? Just pushing through on those days. Why is it so difficult to do on those days especially? Because discipline, as I've said before, is a willingness to be uncomfortable. If you are growing, you are extremely uncomfortable. Are you willing to be uncomfortable? Because if you are, then you've taken the first step. Now it takes discipline to be uncomfortable every day. Because that's where the growth is found. It's found in being uncomfortable. It's found in stepping outside your box of something you would normally do, and we grow in that discomfort. We talk about this a lot of the times with, as I see Steve writing something down, hopefully sharing it with the sales team, discipline. We see this a lot where you get told no a lot of times. No, no, no. And then we get away from the things that were working because we think that that's not working. When really we just need to look back on the ones that said no to us and understand what we didn't do. What were those little things that we weren't disciplined with? Because oftentimes when we find a failure, it's because we've allowed ourselves to get comfortable with the wrong way of doing things. So as you work towards your goals, what do you need to be disciplined about? What's comfortable? What feels comfortable? Because if you live in discomfort for long enough, guess what? It becomes comfortable. The next, number 5, is sacrifice. Giving up something you want for something bigger that may or may not happen in the future. We talk about discomfort. Sacrifice will make you uncomfortable. If you've got a goal to work out each morning, you're sacrificing your sleep. That's going to be uncomfortable. As I've said many a times, I wake up very early, but my bed is really frickin' comfortable. And I'm very good at rolling over and just, temperature's just right, everything's good most of the time. But what are you willing to sacrifice? The discomfort with sacrifice is that it removes the immediacy of the reward. We're in a reward now society. What can I do and get the fastest reward? How do I get to the finish line quickest? When the reward is not there, when you have to sacrifice something and see no result, it's very difficult. It's not easy. When it comes to, starting up a new workout routine or something like that, why is it so difficult to stay on it? Because you don't see the result the next day. Son of a buck. I'm sweating all over the place. I didn't lose a pound. What the hell? But are you willing to keep sacrificing? Because anything worth doing, hopefully, is not going to give you a reward in 24 hours. That would be a strange place to live. And if it is, then maybe we need to re-examine our goals. If we want to grow, we have to focus on what we're willing to give up now to become the person that we want to be. What is it that you could give up now that would draw you closer to who you want to be? What are some of those things? What are some of those sacrifices that you could give up in order to get where you want to go? As a leader, when we think about sacrifice in the realm of leadership, it's oftentimes Are we willing to sacrifice getting the glory, our own reward for our team? Are we willing to give the praise to someone else? Are we willing to lift them up? Because at the end of the day, as we lift them up, we too are lifted. It's leaders who want to take the credit, want to take all the glory, that never lift their team. And unfortunately, they may get the glory in the present moment, but sustained success is going to be very difficult to come by. Almost impossible. So how is it, as leaders, can we sacrifice today? How can we give up something today that may be comfortable, that may be, something that we need or feel we need on the journey to what we want and who we want to become? The more we sacrifice now, the more we'll become in the future. It's a very simple game. However, it's very difficult to do. Because it's really easy to do the things that are comfortable, are familiar, not step out of our comfort zone. All of those things are very easy. They're very in-the-moment things. But what is it that we could sacrifice? And ultimately, when we sacrifice, we create habits. When we do it repeatedly, we begin to create those repetitions in our life that lead to success. I've said before, I can't remember where I found this, but, fall in love with the monotony of success. Success is not, as most people think it to be, as the glitz and glamour and wow, that guy's on top and all of this stuff. Success is the daily habits that person that you view as being successful has repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And the great thing about that is we all have that choice. The habits, we can all identify the habits. They're not super difficult. You could probably ask somebody. You could probably watch somebody. Understanding that success is not a destination. That position you want is not a destination. Because that leaves us sitting here. That leaves us sitting here hoping and wanting and waiting and crossing our fingers and hoping something good happens. Or can we start today by developing the habits needed to be successful? Earlier I talked about what do I need to stop doing. So we all can probably think of quite a few habits that it would be good to stop doing in order to be successful. And sometimes that list is the hardest. It's easy to start a new habit because there's a lot of, get pumped up. Hey, starting a new week, got this new habit. I'm going to try it every morning. I'm going to knock this out, kind of build some momentum. But it's those ones that we need to stop, that we need to reverse, that we need to get uncomfortable with. Those are the hard ones. Those are the hard ones. But we need to find comfort in the fact that it's one day at a time. I often have as I prepare in the morning, it's, okay, I've got from 7 to noon. How am I going to be productive? I got 5-hour block here. How am I going to be productive? What habits am I going to display in this 5-hour block that are going to make me effective? Habits are hard. We have to put things in and around us all the time in order to facilitate these habits becoming commonplace. As we've talked here recently, when it comes to habits, is habits in the things that we do to be successful. So for a technician, the robotic agenda card. Obviously, I've given my stance on this here recently. I'm pretty sure it's a good one. But what if we just did it? Just this call, just did it, didn't care what it was, what it sounded like. We just tried to do it like that. Instead of, I'm going to put a little bit of my spin on it. Are you really? Why don't we just do it this way? That way, everybody's consistent. How do we make that a habit? That's what it ultimately is. How do we make this a habit that everybody in the entire company does so that we can create consistent service regardless of what kind of call we run, who goes out there, whatever it is? How do we make that a habit? We practice. We do it over and over and over again until it becomes comfortable. It's when we choose to do a little bit of it, or I'm going to do this part here or this part there or whatever it is. Well, we're searching for comfort. Literally every angle that you try to do outside of what it is, you're searching for comfort, which is fine. That's human nature. We're going to search for comfort. But how do we steer ourselves back into discomfort? As a manager, the one-on-one meetings. How do we make that a habit? How do we make that consistent? Because we can all agree that consistently, if we were to meet with each person we led every 2 weeks, on the dot, same day, same time, like clockwork, what's the result going to be? Growth. That's what's going to happen. But it's hard to do. It's not easy. But how do we make that a commitment to make that a habit? Because if we can, our potential grows. It's when it's not a habit that our potential stays right here. And we're wishing, we're hoping, we're crossing our fingers. God, bring us 90 degrees. God, we need some rain. We need some leads on the board. Those are all things you can't control. What things can you control? Again, searching for things you can't control is comfort. Comfort knowing that I can't control it. The discomfort is understanding that you can. You can control the outcome. But are you willing to put the habits in place to control the outcome? That's the difficult part. Back to the first one. Great intentions, but what are we being intentional about? Habits are intentional things. We are intentional about it. If you've got a habit in the morning, you're intentional about doing it. Sometimes you may have a habit of not waking up on time or not wanting to wake up. Well, how do we switch that habit to wanting to get up and wanting to take on the day? I've talked previously about the difference between habit goals and result goals. Habit goals are those that we have 100% control over. You can do this every single day. Nothing can get in your way. You can do it every single time. A result goal is something, yes, you'll hit, but a result is just a collection of habits. If we all look back on the most successful month we had or the most successful year, what were the things that you did consistently that got you there? You can find them. They're in there. Because that consistency leads to those results. No one's ever hit a great result by being inconsistent. When they ask somebody after they win a championship or win a golf tournament or whatever it is, no one says, you know what, I really attribute this win to being really super inconsistent over the last couple of months. I haven't really had a routine or anything, I've just been kind of winging it, shooting from the hip. Well, how many times do we go into the day and kind of shoot from the hip? We have things that we can control. And the more that we start to understand that we have control, the more power you have. The more likely you are to get where it is you want to go. We all have the power. All of us. You can be, literally, that's the greatest thing about this country, this opportunity, where we are. You have the power to do whatever it is that you want to do. Everyone has the choice. Everyone has the opportunity to wake up early and get something done. Everybody's got the power to do the things that consistently will lead to success. We all have the power. But are we willing to create the habits that will lead us there? It's tough. It's not easy. What do they say? If it was, everybody would do it, right? And as we create these habits, the last word chapter that I took from Kevin's book, which I love it because it's like 3 or 4 page chapters, kind of rip right through it, is the word unrequired. Unrequired. He's got a quote in there from Dawn Staley, who I believe played women's basketball for Tennessee, WNBA. Now she coaches for South Carolina. Thought I didn't know about women's basketball. Kidding me? Got it. I could rattle off a couple of Tennessee players right now if you wanted me to. But the quote that Dawn Staley has is, "A lot of people notice when you succeed, but they don't see what it takes to get there." A lot of, with the NBA back on, I was watching some games last night. God, it's wonderful to see sports again. But as I watched the game and was kind of reflecting on what I was going to talk about this morning, one of the things that you look at these guys that are playing at the highest level possible and the separation. So all of these guys, all the guys on the court have made it to the NBA. Like, this is the ultimate of, these are the best players in the world of how many billions of people? I don't even know how many people are on the earth, but there's a lot. And these guys, a collection of them, there's like 15 on a team, they've made it to this level. But you look, and LeBron is far superior to these other guys who have made it to this level. Well, what's got him there? And as I thought about the last one that I wanted to end with, unrequired, think about all of the practice that he has put in. I mean, just incredible amounts of, that you couldn't even fathom. I mean, I think about when I was younger and I want to play basketball, I'm going to go shoot out in the driveway for 30 minutes. These guys practice for hours. Hours. He talks a lot, obviously he's a basketball coach, talks a lot about, Kobe Bryant. He was most familiar with Ray Allen, who would arrive at the games 3 hours before every game. The guy played 15, 16 years in the league. I don't even know how long. It was a long time. But every single game. He's already made it to the NBA, for God's sakes. Why is he showing up 3 hours before the game to practice? That is the epitome of unrequired. Kevin talks about in his book The myth of success. What have all our parents taught us? Hard work, work hard, work hard. Well, let's be honest with ourselves. As he points out, hard work just gets you to the door. It's like the price of admission. I mean, there's a whole host of people who work hard. They work hard. There's a whole host of people who don't. We've separated yourself from them if you work hard. That's great. But then what is going to make you rise to that next level? What's going to get you to that next level? Everyone is working hard. So what are the things that we're going to do? What are the habits that we're going to create that no one else is willing to create? That no one else is willing to hold themselves accountable for? As we, one of the new initiatives that we have around here and hoping to get in place by the start of next year is our scorecards. Really excited about these. I think that there's a lot of positive about them, of being really super crystal clear of what expectations are and what good looks like and how we can help and where you may be falling off and how we can get you there. And one of the things that I debated on whether to keep on there, because I had gotten these scorecards from a guy in another industry, and he had on the top, was the top line, it said professional development. And I was like, yeah, maybe not. Does that fit? I don't know. And then obviously when we kind of rolled them out, it was before I had read this, but that made me think about unrequired. We put a certain number of hours on there for people to really do what is now somewhat required, but in years past, it would have been unrequired. It would have been unrequired for someone to pick up a book. It would have been unrequired for someone to go home and maybe work on their craft. So who's going to be that person that keeps track of their professional development and brings in 500 hours? Who's going to do that unrequired work? That's the question we have to ask ourselves. How passionate are we about what we want to become? Or is it just a intention? Is it just a good intention to be successful? Is it just a good intention that I want to get up to this level or get this promotion or be in this position? Is it just a good intention, or are we really committed to doing the unrequired work? I don't know. The great thing is we all have the choice to do it. It's in our hands. No one's stopping us. We can try to make excuses. But who's going to do the unrequired work? We raise our potential when we do this unrequired work. Because our potential lies in the required work. We'll reach our potential if we do the required work. We'll get there. It may take some time, but we're going to get there. Because we're doing the required work, we're working hard. We'll get there. No doubt, we'll get there. But who's willing to do the unrequired? That's where you exceed your potential. That's what allows you to set your goals really damn high. Anybody ever set a high goal and someone look at you kind of strange? Like there ain't no way? I love that. Nothing gets me going like that. That's perfect. Because what's that do? That drives you to do the unrequired work. Because you know that you're not going to get there. But you want to prove them wrong. Every day. Every day. As I think about unrequired work, the biggest thing that I think oftentimes unlocks the potential to do it, because it's hard. We can find other things to do rather than the unrequired work. The one thing that always brings me kind of peace and understanding when it comes to doing this and making that next step through is the fact that we only get one shot. You only get one shot at this life. And it'd be great if we got two, and I don't know that we don't. Please don't take that way. I'm not sure, but it's what I've been told. We just got one shot at this thing. So if we do, are we going to look back and say, I really wish I would have done some of that unrequired work? And the best part about unrequired is there is no limit. When Kobe and LeBron and all those guys were practicing, there was no hour limit that said, well, if you reach this, then you'll be as good as they are. They just kept going. Just kept going. More and more and more and more. How high can I raise my potential? Because the best part about that is you're going to get a lot higher than where you were. So set your goals high. Dream big. That's what it's all about. That's what makes life fun. Accomplishing something that someone thought was crazy. But it's going to take that unrequired work. It's going to take being intentional rather than having good intentions. It's going to take preparation. You're going to have to get ready. You're going to have to practice. You're going to have to do those things that everybody else is unwilling to do. And as you do those things, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable. You're going to have to exhibit discipline each day as you hold yourself accountable. Understanding that the things that you do today, while they may not yield a reward tomorrow, have you on the path that you want to be on. And as you do those things, there will be times that you'll have to sacrifice. You'll have to sacrifice what now is comfortable for discomfort. And sometimes that discomfort lies in the fact that you may be putting yourself out there. You may be sacrificing something that is comfortable for something that may not happen. You may come up short, but you're never going to know unless you start today. Unless you create the habits today that are going to lead to success down the road. What are those things you can start doing today? What's a habit you can get into that is going to elevate you higher than anyone at your position in the entire country? What's going to make you the best manager that ever walked the earth, not only in our industry, but all time? Do you want to put in that work? Do you want to get to that level? It's scary for some. Ooh, I don't know about that. Do you want to do the unrequired? There's requirements for every job. There's a job description. Hopefully soon there'll be a scorecard. That's all well and great. How well are you going to blow that out of the water? What are you willing to do to get there? We all have the choice. We do. And it's hard. It's not easy. But find comfort in the fact that you do have the choice. Every day you wake up, write down what it is that you need to do. Write down what it is you need to stop doing. That's what's going to lead to success. However you measure it, it does not matter. Success for everyone is different. And it's different because it's not a destination. It's a journey. It's about learning and growing, getting better every single day. Every single day. There is no, oh, I finally got here. Learning and growing and getting better there is no end to it. But what is your potential? Where is it at now? And how can you raise it? How can you lift it up so frickin' high that people don't know what to do? We all have the power. It's within us all. And that's the most wonderful thing about this life, this opportunity, this place that we're at now. Is we'll provide every stinking resource we can to make sure that you can do the unrequired, you can create the habits, you can be disciplined, you can do whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. You know, I'm not sitting over there in the chair making people read books. But I can tell you there's a hell of a lot of people that have checked them out and are reading them. That's a good thing. Those people are willing to do the unrequired. They're starting down that path. It's exciting stuff. I recommend picking up this book, especially if you're a basketball fan. It's really good. There's a lot of cool stories in there. And it's very easy to read too. We're all here to help each other along the path of success. We are successful because we want to raise our potential, and we're doing the things that need to be done on a daily basis.